Champagne everywhere, nigga. Turn nothing out of something, man, that's really something. Made a couple hundred bands, man, I'm really coming. All right, welcome back to the channel. We have our first guest of the show. Good friend of mine. I've been knowing the Booga for 4 years now. Well, I say 2015. He say 2017.
Yep.
But, 6-7 years of, friendship or whatever. Welcome to the channel. Explain yourself.
Yo, my name is Benjamin Soleimani, also known as Malefic Benj. We're on a concierge agency in Los Angeles for models, exotic car rentals, luxury properties, and a lot more. Today I'm with, my boy Mikey Amari, longtime friend of mine for the last few years. We did music back when I was an artist and a producer. Had a lot of great times, and obviously the best hookah smokes, that I've ever had. And multiple different lounges, actually, that one are either closed or either just full of scumbags.
Yeah, a lot of them. We went through a lot of them. I want to ask you, before you moved on to like modeling agency, we were dabbling with music, and you were producing / rapping. That's the first time we met. You were rapping, and you were making beats at the lounges when I met you, right?
Yeah.
So talk about that that time, how you got into music and how that went for you, basically,
So the way that I got into music, and one, it's not even modeling agency or whatever. It's like model representation starting out, then castings, and I gradually got into different things, within my company itself over time. Now it's like I'm fully structured, in both Los Angeles and Miami, thank God. Now just got my feet wet in Miami. But when it came to music, I started out when I was like 13 years old, like 13, 14, when I was in like 8th grade. I was, going through a very harsh time in my adolescence because one, family was getting divorced, of course, and then two, I have Tourette's and ADHD and other matters as well later on. But, my peers around me, of course, were not as compassionate or understanding, a little bit more arrogant, if anything, to the fact that I was different than the other people in my community. I got into music because as an outlet for my own emotional and mental health, that's what I got into. And, from there I started progressing, and I was going at it for like a whole decade from like 13, 14 years old. And then I wouldn't say I quit, but I transcended and grew into something greater, which is the career path that I'm on now. Back actually in 2020 of May, during the first lockdown alongside with the riots. Because I was in the house, stuck in the house all day and really contemplating on my life decisions and my future endeavors, I was really contemplating if the model representation thing was doing me better, or if it was music that I really wanted to do. One of the hardest scenarios that I had to contemplate about in general, but it was actually the best decision I made in my young life, my 20s. And not saying that I couldn't make it, obviously, but it's just because I obviously had a future that I wanted to succeed and be prominent in. And seeing how my old personality was as an artist, I was a totally different person, and more if anything, a terrible person at that, without being self-aware of my own actions because of my own narcissistic arrogance. Like, I was arrogant, I was very self-centered, and I was very possessive at the same time. It wasn't good for me to be an artist as I was doing model representation, because most of the time when it comes to artists, they don't know how to be entrepreneurs. There's some that know how to be that, and they know how to switch it up and delegate themselves in a proper manner and in fitting settings, right? Me, I couldn't do that, but I knew I was made more to be an entrepreneur as a conglomerate or an icon itself later down the lines, because my family, the heritage that I have is made of like self-employed people with their own businesses, not always successful, but they just know how to get by on their own and not stay bound to a certain agency or like a certain corporate industry that they work under somebody. Like, I hate working under people. I think it's one of the most irritable things. Once you become self-employed, you never want to work under somebody again, like somebody directly. It's like, do Amazon Flex or Postmates on the side, great, you're on your own time, and it's like you don't have to delegate with a bunch of coworkers or managers, assistant managers, people that you probably won't even like, or even hang out in real life. So it's like when you're self-employed, it is very difficult to get back to working under somebody when you work for yourself. People were working under you or working alongside with you. That's how it should be when it comes to an independent conglomerate or enterprise.
I love it. I love how you mentioned when you were an artist, you realized the behavior of your own, saying you were egotistical. Maybe I would say like immature because we're all young when we started.
Yeah.
But self-awareness is a beautiful thing because you actually look back, self-reflected, and took accountability and start building better for yourself. Now you're more mature now, knowing you for like 6+ years. I really see the growth and maturity level, and you even dealing with like a bunch of models, right? And you gotta satisfy their needs as far as work and stuff like that. So you gotta deal with a bunch of people, and I respect hearing that from you, which is amazing. But I want to ask you one more thing about not one more thing. We're gonna talk about it a lot more, but talk about your transition to like how was that first? What made you decide to be like, yo, I'm gonna manage models instead of like artists, rappers, or because you're in the zone of like rapping, music industry. So, what made you want to go to like modeling business rather than,
music? So
music, yeah.
And we were just talking about this. It's true. I'm a hookah hoe, man. I'm a hookah hoe, but I'm not no beta when it comes down to it. But anyways, but when it came down to getting into model representation instead of artist representation, right? And we were just talking about this before we started recording. Like while you were setting up, we were talking about this. You were actually telling me to become an artist manager back when we were at Old Spot in Almaza.
Right.
2019 is when I really started getting more active in my music career in regards to the networking aspect, since I wasn't so aware on it.
Not to cut you off, but I always saw you as like somebody that could like go and talk to somebody, because I know you can finish the job. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like
I saw that, I said, you know what? You might as well get into management, whatever it is back then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like I had the ability, even though I wasn't aware at the time. Like now, I surely am. And, I'm an underdog. So an underdog is a late bloomer, but when they bloom, it's like you really shine outside of the rest of the garden. But I know how to execute my duties because I was very ambitious and determined to what I do. It's like I don't take light into what I do. I actually take passion. I prefer not to say pride, since that's like a sin already. Right. But I take passion and I take high respects into my own work. Excuse me. I take high respects in my own work because it's my future. Yeah, it's so good. It's my future. It's my livelihood that I want to facilitate for myself. That I want to pave my own destiny and my own path to do. Right. But when it came to the choice of like model representation to artist representation. So other than yourself, there were other people saying I should get into artist management and representation, but I chose not to because, and shout out to all the great managers that have to deal with the stuff that we have to deal with in your own merits, because
artists are scumbags.
Not even that. Not all artists are scumbags, but there's a great, majority of them in society that really cause a lot of damage. And it's like, if you're an artist, I suggest that you really act a little more dignified, because the whole trend stuff is not what it seems in the industry. You can't act like that as you grow and mature in your career. It's like you really have to act more of a decent human being than like a rapper like Hype God or some shit like that. It's like, don't say you're a god in the first place if you believe in God. Don't contradict that. But, and that's my own opinion. If people want to hate, I personally don't give a shit. Everybody's sissy nowadays too. But it's like, for real.
You can talk freely, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, freedom of speech, motherfuckers. What the hell you got to do about that? But anyways, nonetheless, artist managers deal with a lot greater mental strain when it comes to artists and their character type, their mindset, and the way they approach things, and the lack of executing their duties. Even when it comes to a label artist, like label artists nowadays are actually the laziest and the most irresponsible people in comparison to local artists. Yeah, and the labels piss away a lot of money on them, and the people that run the labels are not aware of their employees, screwing their whole label up. That's why the industry is crumbling. That is exactly why the industry has no money to provide as much as they used to. Why do you think that budgets are far more broke and just lower in comparison to what they were before COVID, before the global recession? Like, that's the reason why, because the constituents underneath those label owners are the ones screwing them over. Like, for example, Yo Gotti. So I'm not going to say which one of his artists owes me money for like almost 2 years now, but it was just an idiotic, scenario in which one of Gotti's constituents. So the director I work with in the media department, great guy, actually. I don't blame him for that at all. He's super great. I fuck with him. He's definitely a down-to-earth person. But one of Gotti's artists owes me like $700, for my house rental from like almost 2 years ago. And I spoke to the label rep. Her name was Katrina, and this woman was a pansy to the bone. So I basically just gave her the rundown straight up. I'm like, look, I'm not going to wait months on end for $700 from a multi-million-dollar corporate label. And if she gets all butthurt and start bringing her emotions into the game, it's like, dude, that's exactly why the industry is all fucked up now, because people want to bring their petty and personal emotions. Right. You bring emotion into personal matters. You do not bring that into business matters or any endeavor that you have for your career. That is what fucks everybody up. That's why nobody's making it, because everybody cannot hold themselves emotionally in a composed way. But so basically the woman, ghosted me after, I told her off, respectfully too. I wasn't even rude about it. I just said, look, I shouldn't have to wait months on end for $700 from a multi-million-dollar label in a corporate stance. Like, fuck out of here. And then she got mad because I said that. And then months later, I still haven't got my money, actually, because that woman lied to the label hierarchy, saying that she paid me when I never got shit. And when the director called me for a different project, actually, middle of last year, like early last year, some shit, when I told him the matter that I never got my money, what the hell are you talking about? He was shocked. He was stunned. And I'm like, dude, this is what the labels do. I mean, you should know this. Like, yeah, but they told me they paid you off, and that's why there's nothing else. I'm like, no, they didn't pay me off. I just gave up because it's the labels, bro. They're all terrible. The people that work in the labels have zero experience. They're all friends of the artists or friends, like childhood friends that have zero experience, zero criteria, credibility, or any sense of being in the industry. That's exactly why they're all at their office cubicles taking their sweet ass time like a fucking female, just jerking off in front of their computer when nobody's looking. It's terrible. They don't do their job. That's exactly why by the next 4 to 5 years guaranteed, the music industry, when it comes to the labels, are gonna fully collapse into burning ash. And the only thing that's gonna remain from the debris are independent artists. That's why independent artistry is so vital in such a way right now. It's underrated too. But getting into artist management, it's like, I don't want to be a glorified babysitter. Sorry, I don't mean to disrespect any artist. I don't mean to disrespect the artist manager. I already disclaimed that, hey, the artist managers are one of the most, strong-headed people, because they have to deal with a bunch of glorified children at like 25 to, age and up, or even like a little bit younger. So it's like, dude, don't babysit a grown man. Like he doesn't need a caretaker like he's mentally retarded. Sorry, but even though they might act like that, no. So, but still, I got into model management actually out of a spontaneous situation. Like, I was getting some free girls, that I knew, because I was trying to get a lot of more network back when I was being an artist. This is from Mozzie. And Mozzie is a great dude, honestly. He's a family man. He's a genuine person. Like, when I see him, before he got locked up, and free Mozzie, of course, he'll be out soon. But when I saw him every time, book cards from him and all that, like, he actually came, first name basis, face value is like, what's up, bro, this and that. It's like, he's a very genuine, he retains his humanity in this industry, which we'll get upon later. Right. But that's when I first booked like 2 girls, at the time, 2 or 3, I believe, I forgot. And it's been almost 4 years, since I started, March 5th. But I started with that, and then because one of my closest friends, actually, I consider her family, like an older sister. She was the first model I ever represented in the first place, and she was one of those 2 people that got me inspired to do that model representation. And I had no experience. I had nothing. I was literally going at learning as I go, and made a lot of mistakes in the first year. But then it's obviously that doesn't happen a lot nowadays, almost 4 years later. But started with that, and then it really just gave me an inspiration to not get into artist management, but get into model representation, because it actually has more of a respective presence, to the industry, which it actually did within just less than the first 6 months of my career, actually, believe it or not. Even though a lot of the work was low paying, like, even free to an extent, it's like I was still gaining the respect of the right people that I am still in contact with, actually, that are, one of them is actually my predominant mentor currently, and that man is a virtuous blessing, from in my life, and I'll keep it 100 with you. He's a great man. I mean, I've been learning a lot from him in the last like year and a half. But otherwise, yeah, I got into that because it seemed like it was cool, and I wanted to get into management later on. I had the qualities, just wasn't polished, but nonetheless, that's how I got into it. Starting with Mozzie and Curve for some video, I forgot what it was called, but it's already released. But that's how I got into it, and I just was learning as I go, got new prospects, dropped some prospects, got new ones, and it was always a revamp, honestly. Every year's a revamp. I just literally lost 6 or 7 different prospects, that were just, bullshit as hell, after a good run. But that's the game for you. It's like, people are gonna leave, people are gonna stay, and not everybody's gonna stay in the very end, I'll tell you that. And I'm able to embrace that and take care of it whenever that time does, arrive in my career.
I love it. love how you were trying to network and better, trying to make connections while doing music, and this act like this was your calling, like kind of like fell in your lap, but it didn't at the same time. You know what I mean? I love it. But talk about how you like started from that, and then how you scaled up to having. At one point, you had about what 30 girls that you were dealing with.
Right, dealing with the 30 girls, over 30 girls currently actually in Los Angeles, and that's dealing with 30 girls, right now, and that's only in LA, and that's just the main regiment actually. I have special reserves that wouldn't apply for all castings that I have, a little bit more higher end and more intricate, type of projects. But dealing with over 30 girls in Los Angeles, probably I would say like maybe 30 total as far as special reserves and the main roster. I'll probably say like almost 40 if anything. Total, yeah, because I have like 6 or 7 girls on the special reserves, and then I have like like 33, 34 on the main regiment. I would have to check back if anything, but it's roughly around that estimate. And then not to mention Miami too. I've been building out there with I think I almost have like almost 15, like was it 12 or 15, something like that in Miami.
So, are you going back and forth between LA to Miami, or you're working remote? Like you're handling business from here, from LA?
Yeah, I handle business over here in LA. It's like it's remote work. It's like phone work. It's like literally right now. If I had a project, money ready, set to go, I'll be able to do it on my phone. People's got to inquire on the website, put the info, send me the deposit, boom, I make it happen. Honestly, and I make the things happen. I like you were saying, I execute the job. I'm relied to make sure the job is in perfect care and execute it as such. And that's why I'm respected by the right people instead of like the whole crowd, that's watching the circus.
Love it. So everything gets handled through your phone, correct? So how do you manage 30 girls or 40? You mentioned, right? Does it? What are the challenges of like dealing with 30 different individuals or 40 different individuals, and how do you find them? How do you find them the job to send them like, hey, yo, what's her name? Go here. There's a video shoot here. Blah blah blah. Do you use social media, or do you have your own website people book you on, or how does that work?
So the website was recently released back in November 18th in 2022, just a few months ago. Really good milestone. I had a commercial for it and produced and directed myself. Very beautiful commercial. But in regards to the biggest challenge, dealing with like a lot of women, and everybody has their own way of carrying themselves, and not all of it is just, but the ones that carry themselves in a positive light where they just get the job done. If you get a casting call, then just respond back, okay, confirm, send you the deposit, boom, that's it. It's like just get it done within just moments after they answer. But a lot of girls that I have, because a lot of ones that I currently have are a lot of new prospects that I have, because I revamped my roster by almost 90% this year for the new year. Start out properly, because dropped a lot of them that were just not up to the task. They weren't useful. They were useless, if anything, because of their own habits and their own arrogance, mainly with communication. I couldn't rely on them to, respond back in a timely manner. Not to mention a lot of females, which is just, completely asinine. And, I don't care what I say, and I'm just making sure I disclaim that, because fuck all y'all. but nonetheless, it's like a lot of women that get money ready, set to come at the doorstep, don't even open the door, but they're opening their back door of their house to post TikToks and Instagram stories or whatnot. Like, there's a text for you for that specific job. And me, the ladies that have worked with me continuously for some time, or at least know the essential dynamic on how I work, is that I don't wait for you for long. I give you like max an hour to 2 to respond. Specifically if you're posting on social media, when you already have a text with money ready, set to go to send over to you within a blink of an eye. That is just what really irritates me, and it happens a lot. But I disregard it because, like, hey, if you don't want this gig, you obviously don't care about it. You care more about your pathetic social media presence, getting a lot of attention as a gratifying broad. but I don't fly with that shit. That does not abide by my standard. And if you don't like it, then please go to my competitors, because they'll treat you more like shit as you want. But nonetheless, it's difficult dealing with communication with a lot of girls, especially if they're rookies and I'm not exactly established with them and the work relationship itself. But that would be the most irritable challenge, dealing with like a plethora of women. But the easiest part about it is that if they show signs direct or indirect, that they don't want the casting or they're not up to the job because of their own bad habits in communication, their own arrogance, their own egos. That only makes it easier for me sometimes, especially nowadays, because I could just go on to the next girl, and especially if I have full autonomy for the casting, that will be the easiest thing, and that happens a lot.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
It's like easy to drop somebody because they don't want the opportunity, so I'll give it to somebody that deserves it.
So, do you, like, dealing with these girls, do you sign them, or do you let it, once you sign them, right, to your management, do you let them freelance work on their own, or they're fully committed to you? How does that work?
So there's different instances about that in regards to non-legal documentation, to even just the connection itself. But I always give the girls the free reign to freelance on their own, as long as they follow company guidelines and policies. Like, before, I was blacklisting a lot of people that were my competitors, but now I just really do not care anymore. It's like I don't like policing people. I don't like to get the urge to get upset about it and get in my feelings regarding the matter. So it's like I just let them freelance as much as they want. If they go to my competitors, and I told them about my competitors, I say, look, you should not go to this person. That's my suggestion. Do what you want. I personally don't care. And then whenever they come crying back to me, which a lot of them have, even ones that have never got casted for me because they had their first experience ruined by such competitors that I have because of their vile tactics and work ethic. It's like they always come stick with me loyally. And they only go to my competitors, in case, like, let's say it's slow and I can't provide so much per se, or like maybe it's more busy in a higher market for houses or cars, or my campaigns or whatnot, and it's not exactly so popping for model castings. They go to my competitors, and it's fine because get your money, obviously, but it's like, do not get indoctrinated to their lifestyle. That's the only thing that I suggest, and it's like I suggest that. I do not dictate that. I can only advise and not rule. But otherwise, it's like, yeah, they could do freelance, especially if they're not under a contract. I don't do contracts anymore because, especially exclusive, like non-exclusive I have, but it's not needed because they're all independent freelancers anyways. But when it comes to an exclusive contract on full representation, where I take the full ability of my contacts to get them to a proper agency aside from my own, where I would actually be the manager. I've had a lot of experiences and opportunities for that. It didn't pull through because of unexpected variables and circumstances, but it was already a set deal. Just things happen because of the girl's own record, or like, per se, like one of my L prospects, she's still a good friend. She does a lot of tattoo work. She's on special reserves, actually. I was about to get her signed to Aston Models of Beverly Hills, which is a very prominent mother agency that provides all the castings, for the top dogs above them, like Ford Models and all that. I even had an interview at Ford Models within my first year, of representation for my first prospect, but that didn't go through because she was late. But that's the only reason. Like, she came fully prepared with her portfolio, presence, everything, but just the late aspect they didn't like, which is fine because I thought that context, she's cool. But nonetheless, I was gonna get her signed to Aston Models Beverly Hills, and they loved her look off the bat. First interview, they said, we're gonna give you a contract. Boom. She couldn't do it, and I was actually gonna pay for her legal fees. I was like saving up a lot. I had like $5,000 ready set to go for her, and then she would pay me back with the casting that I had given to her by the agency, also under my direct representation and discretion. But she couldn't do it because she was on a tourist visa that expired prior to Biden letting immigrants into the nation. And even when that law came around, it's like it was still very difficult, and it's like she couldn't do anything because of an expired tourist visa because she was from Russia. So it's like she couldn't do much, and we kind of, completely flopped, the whole operation. But I still have those contacts respectively, and I can go to them anytime that I feel. But there's not exactly a lot of prospects that I have. Even the runway ones that would apply for those type of agencies, not all of them are ready from my perspective, or let alone even ready to, take on a very large scale, opportunity to be as dedicated and consistent as possible. Like, they lack momentum. So, and some of them I haven't even been able to determine that, but I'm hoping that some of my runway prospects will be able to prove that in due time.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. I love it. Like juggling like 40 different women, and then you mentioned all the challenges. Women being late, the city, the LA city traffic, understandable. But I wanted to ask you.
They still come by.
Yeah. If you're on time, you late.
Even if they're late by a small moment, like, it's I give a 15-minute grace period, and the girls that I work with, they actually come on, let's say 30 minutes late. They stay 30 minutes later just to compensate for the time lost, and that's just justified easily. It's like anybody could agree with that. If you really don't, it's like you're really a fucking bitch, but like you're an arrogant bitch.
So what's the long term for you regarding the modeling management? Are you looking for? I want you to explain it instead of me like leading you to it. But what's the long term goal for you? Like what are you hoping to scale up the next 5 years? What are you looking into?
So what I'm looking into business wise, and I don't know if you want personal wise as well. If, you want that. Let's do both, if possible. But so the long term is basically to expand to all major cities, which I've already been doing this year. Like I said, I've already got my feet wet. Grazing the tip of the iceberg in regards to Miami and some parts of Florida, some other parts of Florida, like Orlando. Have a couple prospects out there, and they would drive to Miami if the artist is able to compensate for their travel. But I intend to also to expand to all cities that have a scene of their own, like a very respective and large scale scene. Like I've already expanded to Miami, as I said. I expanded to New York a bit with a couple models, and also car rentals. Car rentals are nationwide now, thank God. So I've already put my feet, got my feet wet in that case itself. But with modeling though, I definitely want to get to a national scale, and then possibly even a global scale, because I do have access to models overseas, like in Greece. I can get some in Belgium and France, maybe Amsterdam as well. My contacts there, even like the UK. I have a couple of girls that are down to get in the video of. So, but I do want to get to become a global conglomerate, but also not only that in the business aspect, my ultimate goal, which I don't say a lot actually, but I'm very open to it nowadays. I want to get to a global scale of being a conglomerate corporate industry, a company actually, where it's like I'm the great reformer of this industry itself, because it's crumbling so drastically, and it's just declining by the people, the way that they are easily influenced and succumb to the culture, the way they carry themselves in the most unprofessional way possible, and that's because of the influence of the culture. I want to be the man that actually has a hand in the culture, but for obviously better moral reason, because this industry lacks all sense of morality and even a sense of humanity too, because of the crime-induced influence that it pushes onto the constituents of their fans and all people around. But I do want to have the power and great autonomy to be the reformer, the great revolutionizer of an industry that is on a thread. Even if it burns to ashes in the next 4 to 5 years, unless I'm too late, I'm not, because I'll be able to have the innovation to take advantage of the independent artist industry and then build that from the ground up, to whatever I see fit. But obviously I want to make sure that the people that are fans of the music industry and the ones that are my constituents, trying to get their foot in the door, of course, with the industry, I want to make sure that they are in a more friendly environment, a more professional environment, because you think about the music industry, you think it's big, it's professional and so forth, like it's the hierarchy of culture itself, which it is, currently, but not for the reasons that you might think, people that don't know about the industry, because what was I saying? So basically, I want to make sure that people understand the business etiquette behind their career, because if it's a career, it means that it's a livelihood, but also fundamentally, it is an actual job and duty that you must uphold. I want to make sure I'm able to go to TED Talks and other summits, give them my words, of course, like on this podcast starting out. I want to give my word in regards to how artists should be influenced correctly, and they could be entrepreneurs and professionals while being an artist and an innovative creative. So that's basically what my long-term goal is, to be the great reformer of this industry that is in such decline, and it's a very profitable and very prominent industry. I mean, the people that I met, good and bad, a lot of them were talented, a lot of them were very good individuals, very creative ones, very like-minded people that I have a very good relationship with. Even my top clients, like I have top clients, I have a very good relationship standing with them, friendly and also business-wise too. So I want to make sure that the bonds are solidified, but for right reason. For business, yes, fundamentally, but then also you get to know the person as a human being, and that's where I was saying earlier, like a lot of people in this industry, rappers, managers, everybody, they lack a sense to retain their humanity. They forget they're human in the first place when they're on a project or even outside of that project. And I want to give that influence saying, embrace your humanity prior to your position in your career, let alone your ethnic background or religious beliefs. You know, people that say, you know, I'm prideful because I'm black and Jewish or this and that, you know, we both agree on that matter. It's that it's contradictory because pride is already one of the 7 deadly sins in a universal, standing in the religious world. So embrace your humanity prior to your ethnic background or heritage. It's like, don't pride yourself because it's already a sin. It's just hypocritical. Embrace your humanity. That's how you should be living nowadays, because we see how the decline in society itself with other beliefs. You want to take pride of like your political beliefs, your heritage, and this and that. That only hurts the people around you, and including yourself. Embrace your humanity first, and that's it. Everything else is irrelevant as can be.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That was deep. Embrace your humanity. That, like you said, you know, fuck the pride, forget the pride. One more question before we go. Would you sign an OnlyFans girl?
Do I look like a moron? Do I look like a scumbag?
That's a no. I asked him this before. I just wanted to hear it on camera.
No. But look, I have worked with OnlyFans, women, in the past, not actually, too long ago, like actually around a year ago today but I only book OnlyFans girls for more promotional campaigns and projects that I have. Even if it has a shoot, where it's visually, there, is that the fundamental motive for the project would be for a promotional campaign over the social media where they have like a very high following. But that's the only way I'm able to make the exception for OnlyFans models whenever they have the promotional benefit, even if it's on set. And obviously the sets that I have would not, exploit them, sexually or like, undermining, their femininity at all. It's like that is completely asinine. Never twerk girls, never OnlyFans chicks. If you're at least a decent human being, then great. Come on, hit me up, DM me or some shit when my IG's back on this week.
Give us, how can people reach you, bro? Give me your socials, plug your socials.
So you can go to my website, maleficmanagement.com. That is spelled MALEFICMGMT.com. Again, that is maleficmanagement.com, MALEFICMGMT.com. You can make an inquiry, send me an email, or you can just DM me on my personal account. That is MALEFICBENJ. Again, that is MALEFICBENJ, Malefic Benj. DM me, holla at your boy, and do not come with any selfies, ladies. I do not like selfie submissions. That's not a portfolio. That's an amateur chump, approach. Come on now. I'm trying to undermine you with nothing, but it's like you gotta come professional to me. I'm not some run-of-the-mill, topsy-turvy type of jackass in the industry. Like, I'm an actual human being that does his job and embraces his job and does it to the best of my ability. Not to mention, if I really fuck with you, I'm definitely gonna take you out for dinner after a shoot if you want. Your choice.
Yo, this guy, he trying to date you and get you a job.
Hey, I don't shit where I eat. I never I never laid a hand on my women like that, and just set the record straight, because a lot of people in this industry, like my competitors, they be doing that shit. They shit where they eat, and the next thing you know, they pussy out as soon as that things get rough, and then pop back in whenever things cool down. And that's their women, not mine. So I don't shit where I eat. I don't even want a model chick as a girl. Trust me.
All right. Good to know. Well, Benj, good to have you. I would love for you to come back, and we'll discuss this really like in depth more. You know what I mean? It was beautiful having you. It was fun.
Definitely gonna have a nice hour compilation of this shit. Let's get it. Appreciate you, Mike.
Yes, sir. See you on the next video. Peace.
Let's go.